right here, because I left mine at home. We have to time,
Okay, we're live.
time this thing. It's AC 18 all day long, but it's running out. How's Judy getting along? Judy is tolerating her medication way better than we would have ever thought. Her daily regimen is not changed. She's getting out. Yeah, well, she works out in the morning. Okay. My bicycle. She rides her bike over here, works out, rides her bike home. And she does the normal stuff at home. Getting out, meaning going into social environments other than church.
We're better than science.
I know.
This is so she masks up whenever she comes here. She went to public school. Good. Yeah.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the October Cypresswood Community Association meeting. I'd like the secretary to call the meeting to order, or to do the roll, excuse me.
Meeting comes to order. Okay, Club Patio, Cypress Pond, Eagle Pond Condos, Enclave,
here.
Fairway Patio, Garden Patio, Golf Villas, Greenfield Village, Meadows, Oak Grove, Palmacia, Plantations, Sand Hill Lane, Villas on the Green.
Club Patio is present.
Club Patio is present.
Yes. Vice President.
Vice President Jason Hall.
By default, he is here. But he's here. Okay, thank you. Next slide, please, Savannah. In front of you have an updated agenda. I didn't get a chance to email it out. It just changes the order of the committees a little bit. That's the only real change. I need an approval of tonight's meeting agenda. And Mr. Shires made such a motion. Mr. Brett has seconded. All those in favor? Opposed? Thank you. We also need an approval for the minutes from the September 20th meeting. Anybody want to make such a motion? Ms. Dr. Palmer and Mr. Klutner has seconded that. All those in favor? Opposed? Thank you. This is the section for the resident. Next slide, please, Samantha. Sorry. There are none, so we will move on to committee reports. And the
Let's
first.
back up just a minute.
Oh.
Is there anybody that snuck in while I was trying to sign up anybody to make these residents' comments? Speak now or forever hold your peace.
There you go.
Okay, thank you. Oh, there it is. Landscape Committee, Mr. Wilson. I think he's on the blue line now.
Good evening. I'll keep this short and sweet. I don't have a lot to say. We're finished up on some of the projects, and the tree work that you approved last time is it's going to be started probably later this week. Everything regarding that is going to be complete for the Patriot tournament, and just so that you know that the front jasmine was originally scheduled for a December trimming, because they do that 3 times a year. They're going to do it before the end of this month so that it looks great for the tournament. If you drive in and out of here over the last couple of weeks, you know what's going on out front. And it's probably about the worst it's going to get, maybe to get a little better in about 3 or 4 weeks. But what we're seeing, if you've noticed it, they now are throwing topsoil over the wall down towards the fence. There's sod being laid over that whole area right now. So probably in the next 2 to 4 weeks, from a landscape side, that whole area between the sidewalk, the pedestrian railings, and the fence to the golf course is gonna be complete. I've been told that, the way they have the drainage set up, we should not get any water holding in that area, so, coming January, is probably January, we will have to resume the maintenance on the side. No.
No,
Talk to
contractor
me.
maintains it.
I'm sorry?
The contractor will maintain it the entire time of the contract.
Oh, really?
Yes.
That's
part of
not
his
what I
contract.
heard. They told me something else, but that's good to know, that we don't have to worry about it.
We should not have to worry about it.
Fantastic.
It's standard DOT contract. It's in his contract to maintain it until it's accepted by the department.
Fantastic. That's good news for us. I just hope they do a good job of it. We'll still do the Jasmine.
It's gonna be.
We'll get it done. But, not if there's any question. Oh, I know, it's gonna be a steep area. It's gonna be interesting for prime care as to how they have to do that. It's probably gonna be not a mower, but they're gonna have to hand trim probably a lot of that embankment that's along there. Any questions? Thank you, Bob.
Don't reach with that, I'm not going to. I'll try.
Thank you, Fred. Traffic control, Mr. Reese?
Thank you, sir. Welcome.
Good evening, all. I have zero to report other than the cameras are working on the resident lane. As Fred stole my thunder, we still need to be cautious going in and out. I figure in another couple of years, we'll not be cautious anymore. Anything from the presidents or the VPs for me? The flag is lowered to half staff because of General Colin Powell's death.
Thank you, Mr. Reese. Road and drainage, Mr. Shira?
Thank you. It's been a slow month since we've been together. The only thing that got done was we paved Clubhouse Road and the Boulevard. Beyond that, we understand from comment on DOT, we understand that the lane, which when it's 4-lane, it would be the lane that is eastbound. That is the lane closest to us, and you see them out there laying the road base now. We'll be coming on before Christmas. We'll be driving on that. It won't be 4-lane, I don't think. Pardon?
You want to share a little bit about today?
Well, we did. Yeah, we have checked with them with regard to the drainage issue. With drainage, because Mark identified a couple of things that we needed to be sure we're clear on the drainage on. In addition to that, we brought up some other things that there's some concern about. That's access to some areas for maintenance. These are areas that are within our property, but since they've closed it off from the highway there, we don't have a way to get to it. And they're going to get back to us on that. We also need to identify if there was any money set aside for damage to our fence. A lot of work's been done out there, and looks like there could be some things there. And additionally, while this isn't a road and drainage item, we want to be sure that since they've moved the lanes closer to the golf course, that they're addressing the hazard that creates properly. Anything else?
No.
Yeah. And that's all I have.
I had a question, Mr. Allen.
Yes.
What was our answer regarding the golf course and the golf?
They have to, this was an information gathering meeting and not a time of commitment. Anything else?
The new road bumps that you put in on the
Yes.
pavement, are they being addressed at all?
The speed humps, the speed humps were measured. They are within the one I think that everybody's most concerned about, may be the inbound up at the traffic center. Is that correct?
The one going out is the one that's.
Where they put
Slow down.
Yeah, they're,
It's not speed, it's the jump.
no, we went out and we measured all of the speed humps. None are outside of spec for that. That one specifically, Mark, that's the one along the golf hole, along number 10. I think when we measured that one came in at 5 inches, and spec on that is 6 inches, so that's within spec. So I think what it is the others had been up for quite a while, had been driven on. It has a tendency to kind of beat them down a little bit. I'm not saying it's about beating it down, but I think it's about, I know that I have to go slower over them, or I feel like I'm damaging not damaging, but I'm doing to my vehicle what I don't want to do. Mike?
Well, do you think in the speed bump as you go out, when they're at the guard shack, it seems like that speed bump is narrow as opposed to wide like the others on the wall?
That's been that way always, and the purpose of that was to cause the vehicles to come to close to a complete stop for the purpose of capturing the license plate exiting, so we have identification of the vehicle exiting. Am I right on that, Rick?
Yes. Yes.
Thank you.
But I didn't measure it before and haven't measured it after, so I don't know where.
I don't. Yeah, that one, the speed. That one's a bump and not a hump. Okay, and to me, it feels as though it's not as severe as it was.
I would agree.
And but nonetheless, if we identify that we need more there, we'll do it. What we don't want is we don't want more. Yes, sir.
So you're saying the speed hump that's on the exit lane is the proper height?
Yes.
It's the proper width, because it's a very short up and down for that 6 inches. Now, other ones seem to appear, I have not measured, but they appear to be wider than that.
I think it may. I think likely what it is that instead of being shaped like this, it's shaped more like this. It's a little sharper on the coming up. Because what we did when we went out to measure that, we took a real long level so that we would be parallel to the ground. Get the level to the ground, then take the level to that, then make sure it's even, and then go measure each end of the level to know what kind of distances we had. And they're well within specification.
Because last month, one of you gentlemen of the committee said that the speed hump should be 12 foot wide, and then up and over.
I don't think it's 12 feet. It's not 12.
That's the number that he said last month.
Yeah.
Speed table.
No, I mean, well, it's 12 foot. No, it's not 12 foot wide. I think.
They're a little bit less than 12 feet.
Are they a little less than 12? I think are they 10?
They're like 10, between 10 and 11, yeah.
Yeah, between 10 and 11 feet.
So what's the measurement of that one?
Same. They're all the same width. The width of it, not the width across the road. The width, as you're driving across it. I think what it is there's just a little more material on the front side of it, as you're coming up on it. And the answer to dealing with it is just not to go as fast over it.
I have no problem. I have a problem. I'm not worried about that.
Okay.
But I see people that scraped on it. I think that it's visibly, I don't have the specs that you have, and I didn't measure it, but I think that it should be addressed.
And we'll go recheck it.
Yeah, most of the scrape marks are from, we see it all the time, but primarily from the lawn care trailers. The back end of the lawn care
Yeah, the back end of the lawn care trailers.
A prominent thing for scraping, and we see it any number of times. Yeah. And the other ones have been down for 15 years or 18 years, something, whatever.
The ones that have been down for 15.
Yeah, and with all the trucks going over them, they do, and especially in the summertime in the heat, the asphalt gets a little softer, kind of pushes it down a little bit. This is fresh asphalt, so, but You know, we know what the function of them is. The function is, if it were up to me, I'd take them all out, but it's not, so I live with them, but you gotta slow down.
Anything else?
Thank you, Mr. Shire. Next slide, please. And this is the Treasurer's Advisory Committee and Mr. Tucker.
Gentleman has a handicap, 1 mile an hour, he strips. 1 mile an hour, handicap van strips.
I gotta see it.
He bottoms out.
I gotta see it. I put myself in the middle of the screen, right?
How about over there by the line?
What vehicle is 5 inches?
Well, now I'm not in the middle of the screen. That's okay.
It's a handicap.
All right, so the balance sheet for month end September 30th indicates that we have about 263.9 in operating cash, reserve cash 315.8. We have current accounts payable in the liability section of $274,400. We have notes payable $1,832,000. Total reserve accounts 204.8, and that's the balance sheet. We're going to have an extensive report in a few minutes, and it'll help explain some of this stuff to us. As far as the budget and the expense report, every committee has done a magnificent job this year. We are year to date, we are under budget by about $27,000. That's pretty good work, ladies and gentlemen. Okay. All right. So we had indicated to you several months ago that we were going to put together a subcommittee of TAC. That committee was made up of Scott Shira, Kevin Seward, and Robert Dodd. Scott is here tonight to go over some produced reports that will help simplify some of our reporting going forward. Scott? Wake up, Scott. He has worked way too many hours doing this, but I congratulate you for doing that. Please. No, you're getting a raise, yeah. Wednesday. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Always good to follow a long discussion on speed bumps. Makes my job easier. Okay, this is the quarterly budget summary overview through September 30th. This is the third pass we've taken at it. We've had 7 months, our committee has, to really take a deep dive. This report is our most complete, and there were some things that you're going to see as we walk through it that we've examined and looked at differently. So this first page, of course, starts with the operational side, and we've got landscape, traffic control, G&A, and drainage on this page. And then below that, the amounts that we designate to the reserve accounts. And beneath that, you have your current reserve account balances. I think the only thing to point out on that page is that you will see under under drainage, you will see a negative $91,000. And I'll address that in just a minute on a reserves page. These are the current balances that are produced and provided to us by our CAM that does our books. They do a fantastic job. I've done 7 months of digging and they're always right. Always. Next slide. I'm sorry. Any questions on the operational slide here?
Who's your CAM?
Our CAM is, I just know that it's in.
And Wood.
So it's Wood Management, right?
John Wood Management.
John Wood Management. Yep, good question. Anybody else? Next slide. So this is new, we took a look at what the reserve account balances are doing, because we've got to move some money in drainage. over to general reserves. So if you look down this list, it'll show you all of our reserve accounts. These are designated accounts. It shows you the balance starting this year, and then what we're adding during this year. And the third column shows you our expenditures during this year. So we end up with the fourth column showing you the projected balance at the end of this year. We get kind of low water mark since I've been here in a couple of years. And this board wisely is earmarking some money next year to go to general reserves. Good call, good move. And I know it's controversial, but it's also wise. In 2022, the fifth column will show you what we would project to add to the reserve accounts during 2022. And at the last column then shows you what the balances in each of the accounts will be. So as you look at the general reserves account, you'll see that as we move and we take 91,000 for the stormwater, for the drainage, we'll be at 78,000 at year end this year, but we're going to add back and get that to 215,000. And that's an amount that the TAC committee has met and discussed. Generally speaking, there's no firm guideline, but generally speaking, it's a good approach to reserve general reserves at about 25% of your annual budget. It's your savings account. It can't be spent unless this board hears why it needs to be spent and approves that it can be spent. So it'll give us what we need as we move forward in this community to cover ourselves if something comes up. Something will come up. So be prepared for that. We just don't know what it is. We can't budget for the unexpected. We certainly can budget for the expected. Any questions about reserves? Thank you. Next slide, please. The amenities budget. This got the most reworking or overhaul, if you will, since the last report. Again, as we did a deeper dive, we identified that we were, as a community, and spending money that flows into amenities. We've been taking unforeseen expenses, dumping them into amenities, I'll explain that, and not overspending, but pulling the money out of the amenities budget all along the year. Our first two reports that we did included some leasehold improvements. At the bottom, you'll see cart pass, maintenance building. I'll pick on those two. When our CAM produces the financials that you've received every month, there are the amenities expense area shows you these as amenities expenses. When we produced our first two reports, we brought those over as budgeted items. They weren't budgeted items. The maintenance building on the very bottom was in Martha's 2020 list of items that she requested we reserve money for to be able to repair at some point in time. That was October when I found your report. Fast forward to January, and we've got an insurance inspector telling us, you've got to repair that building now. Well, we didn't put it in the budget. We knew we needed to start reserving for it, but we didn't put it in. So we identified that. The card pass on the first item under leasehold improvements on this page down at the bottom, card pass were in the 2020 budget, but the money was not spent in 2020. When we don't spend money in our budget, and Ben pointed out that we're 27,000 under on our budget this year, if we don't spend that, that money rolls into our unrestricted reserves liability account. It's money that we have access to. It's our surplus. Congratulations, CCA board, you are 40 years old this year, since 1981. So you're the 40th iteration of a board that has managed this community. managing the community means that we do the best we can with our budgets, and if we come in under, we've got money that kind of builds in there. We're a nonprofit, so we can't call it retained earnings, but we can hold it there as unrestricted reserves. That's where that money goes. So the cart pass, when we didn't do the improvement last year, that money rolled down to unrestricted reserves, and lo and behold, we spent the money this year. It got picked up correctly by the CAM, recorded as an amenities expense. And we picked it up when we started doing our work as a budgeted item, but it was not a 2021 budgeted item. It comes out of unrestricted reserves. So that needed to be brought off of these previous versions of our amenities report. The TAC committee met and said, with RAC, and we all sat there and we talked about these items that we don't budget for that come up. We need to have a plan to be able to address them. So we identified a guideline. That guideline is if it's over $5,000 and it's an expense that has a lifespan of 10 years or longer, it needs to be treated as a leasehold improvement. That's not a hard and fast rule, but it's enough of a rule that whenever any of our committees are going to encounter something like that that's outside of the budget, that we're going to sit down and be able to go, we need to inform the board of this expense and then determine the best action for it. We'll give the recommendation and move forward that way. So these 4 items fall in that category. The kitchen cooler was was finished in September, I believe, right? Okay. And then the irrigation pump, which was done in June, I believe. So that fell into the June. And each time we're encountering these expenses, again, the CAM will just straight pick it up as an amenities expense. We're trying to work off of a budget so we can manage our spending and help our board understand when we encounter any expenses that need to be discussed outside of the norm. So if you look at this revised amenities page budget, the top portion from loan servicing down through utilities, you'll see that we actually applied a number on row 2 to our agronomics of $75,000. We may actually incur a little bit of what's going on in the world right now called inflation. Some things are really shooting up in agronomics costs, hard good costs. But regardless, we've set a number for a budget for this year and also for maintenance and repairs. Those 2 were previously lumped into that one number of $200,000 if you look back on the previous reports. But again, in our deeper dive, we identified how much we need to budget, because this will look like, based on what was approved for the budget next year, Martha, this will look like the budget for next year. And we have to keep our eyes peeled for any things that come up that we have to then go over to general reserves. For this year, TAC, RAC, our subcommittee, we all met, we looked at our leasehold items, and we've determined that the best approach for this community, this board, this CCA is to pay for those through our unrestricted reserves. Makes the most sense. Keeps us within budget on the top half. To do that, there's a next slide I want to show. Let's bring that up now. So basically, I'll just read this. This says that with regard to amenities in the 2021 leasehold improvements and unrestricted reserves, these items below are unplanned amenities expenses with a cost over $5,000 that are leasehold improvements with an anticipated 10-year lifespan or more. These should be removed from the budget, I'll explain that in just a second, and paid from unrestricted reserves. Kitchen cooler is a new expense for September. Previously, when Martha presents her monthly ask for amenities, she had included cart pass, irrigation pump, and maintenance building. So in the middle column there, you'll see that that's the amounts that were in her previous requests to approve. We're saying that with this course of action, that unrestricted reserve needs to cover that, including the kitchen cooler, for a total of $82,000. In doing so, Martha's budget, where your asks that have been approved before were at $468,299, need to be lowered, reduced by $70,000. And we'll have a running balance through the last year, your previous ask before this month's, of $398. Our available unrestricted reserves is $167,877.54, something like that. So it's $878. $82,388 will come from that. And that's how we're going to address that. So TAC, RAC, our subcommittee evaluated everything. We've been doing this since July. Ann had gotten from the CAM, had gotten us a deep dive on some of the reporting, and she did an analysis that we used to be able to come up with this evaluation. There. Any questions about this? Could go back one slide if you would, please. Yeah, so that's why this number here of 121, the last column, the remaining budget of 121,985, that's going to be Martha's budget for the next 3 months. And yeah. Okay. I believe that's it. Go one more. It is. Okay. No questions. Look, if anybody has any questions, please get in touch with me. I'm open. I've heard that I've been on this board as a vice president for 2 years. I've heard that we want transparency. Okay, so the intent of what we're doing here is to get it all out in front. I'm going to make another comment too. Our subcommittee, now has a very good understanding of how our accounting is capturing everything and getting us to a point where we can monitor our budgets, our spending, and make sure that the things that need to be brought before you that are outside of the norm are presented that way. Yeah. That's all I got.
Okay. Wait, go back to that, please. Thank you.
So I think we need to have a vote to do what the subcommittee is suggesting. Isn't that what we kind of all?
If that is the proper protocol, then yes.
I think everybody, if we had a vote on moving the money, as you said, not moving.
Transferring the expense, if you will. It normally would come out of unrestricted reserves. If a budget year ended up with a loss, it just gets caught for. We can't spend our money perfectly by year end. We're always this way, and that's why after 40 years we've got a surplus. The 12,000 definitely has to be voted because it was not included in any prior approval.
Right. Okay. And
it's not going to be in Martha's ask.
Correct. What is Martha?
I move that we accept the subcommittee's approach to recording our budgets. Does that summarize it?
Okay. Do we have a second for that motion? Mr. Holland from Club Patio has seconded that motion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay then. We can go to the next slide then. Oh wait, back one more. We do need, because of the way the cooler hit, we do need to get a motion and approve to pay for that's already been done. So I guess, does anybody make a motion now that we've moved the money that we can pay for it? Although we have paid for it. Thanks, Linda. Does we have a second? Mr. Shirer, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Yes?
Can you, from now on, can you add on to this, how much is left in the unrestricted reserves?
Go to the,
Oh, there's some down the bottom.
This is as of 9/30.
Oh, okay.
30, and that's on your financials, that's on your financial statements that you receive from the CAM when we get them monthly.
Yeah, but it is on the.
do you want to see it on this slide? And if you could go back one more? Or do you want to see it on that slide along with the reserves?
Along with the reserves.
Okay. Just understand that it's not, a reserve account is like a designated savings account. It can only be used for its purpose. Unrestricted reserves has no restrictions, unrestricted. So one reason that you leave it there is that it protects the CCA in the long run as your buffer. So we don't want to, I don't advise, in my opinion, the board shouldn't look at it like, oh good, we can use that to redo the pool. No, it's not for that.
One thing that caught my attention in our committee meetings was the interest reserves. I was not aware of that. Would you explain that to everybody?
Well, we have money in the bank, and the banks pay us for putting money in their banks, and that's called interest, and that's what that is.
It's interest.
We actually talked in TAC about like having a.
Don't make me sound that dumb. Okay,
No,
I knew that.
Hey, if we can't laugh, we gotta cry, all right?
It's interest earned over the years.
Over the
and
years.
it accrues to that
It's not
account.
an annual amount, I think that's what she was getting at.
Yeah, this has just slowly been building, and now we have 17,000 in there over many years.
It's the accrued interest on our CDs
Correct, yeah,
over the
basically,
years.
yeah.
And this is where it's.
Right, it's not a annual number is the point. I think that Martha was trying to say.
We did talk about, thank you. We did talk about giving guidelines to the CAM to, move it, but I don't, it's nebulous, apples and apples, so it's fine where it's at. Yes.
So, Mr. Brett, you just want it to be shown during the reporting, is what and you don't really care where it's shown. So wherever the committee recommends, you'll be good with that. Okay, sounds good. All right. Slideroo.
Wait, did you want to do the cooler first?
We did it.
Oh, never mind.
You voted yes.
Okay.
Amenities Committee.
Got it.
Dr. Palmer.
This page.
Next slide, please.
We want to thank Scott and everyone on the committee for a lot of work and for coordinating with at least 3 different committees and getting that done. This is the funding request for the October meeting. You'll see the first column is the budget plan for 2021. That has not changed. The number in the second column is what has been spent through September, what was approved through August 31, and then the amount to approve now. And in those various categories, golf course, agronomics, maintenance and repairs, you see the list, they all correspond. The total for the ask for the October meeting is $31,719. Does anybody have a question? And you can see where that total comes from in those various line items. This was also prepared in such a way to correspond with the new reporting. Hopefully it will make it simpler to say where the money's going. Then we need a motion.
We need a motion for the request of $31,719. Mr. Klutnar has made such a motion. Do we have a second? Mr. Shire has made a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Next slide, please. This is mine, do the golf course report that we started last month. As you can see through, actually through yesterday, the 2021 rounds at 28,421, 2020 is 17,280, and 19 is 24,878. We are heading in the right direction in terms of rounds of golf, and we're seeing new faces, and the golf course looks really, really nice right now. We did have just on a side note, we did have a golf course committee meeting Thursday, and we want to thank Mr. Weiss, who's new to the committee, for coming down to our maintenance facility, and Mr. Tassin as well. There were several that came down, and we're going to have more of those opportunities to kind of look over to see what's out there, and to kind of ask questions of our golf course professional. Next slide, please. This is the snapshot that we do on a quarterly basis. Just kind of shows the income and expense of the LLC. As you can see, just like we reported and we report with all this, the quarters, the first 100 days are obviously the most profitable, and then it's hold on for dear life, which, as you can see, that's dear life. And then we get to, right now it's a loss of 26,000. The fourth quarter is generally up. It should be close to break even, I would hope, especially the way play has been trending lately. Next slide, please. This is the condition report. As I wrote around earlier today, 11 greens are in very good shape. Three of the greens are steadily improving. 4 of the greens had some sod replaced on it and are trailing those other 14, but they're getting better every day. And the new sod is gorgeous and it looks really, really good. So we're very, very happy with that. The greens are fertilized weekly, the greens are herbicided every month, and the greens are top dressed every 3 to 5 weeks. We do stop herbiciding, I think I say that somewhere down there, from now until we overseed, because it does stop the seed from germinating when it has herbicide on it. The tees, the 90 tee stations are being prepared for the overseeding, which is on November 8th. And this is where I say it. We cannot spray herbicides on that area until the seed germinates, which takes about 3 weeks. We do have, we will continue to fertilize the tees to boost growth. We do have our golf course committee and a couple of their volunteers that are going to go out and manually remove some of the non-native species, as we like to call them, commonly known as weeds, and they are going to start that tomorrow, I believe. The green surrounds have been and will continue to be aggressively maintained with herbicides and fertilizers on a biweekly schedule. Again, the emphasis on the areas that the golfers see the most. Next slide, please. Fairways, overseeding will take place on Monday, November 8th, and the full fairway fertilizer application did happen 2 weeks ago. We reported previously that it was going to happen in early October, which it did. The roughs are much better than they were 30 days ago. We will continue to emphasize mowing from the fairway edge out. Grass has begun to slow down, and last week we mowed out to 90%, which is a little bit ahead of what I thought we would do. And we still plan to be caught up by the end of November, but with the cooler weather this morning, that will happen sooner rather than later, unless we get some sort of a spike. Any questions on that? Okay, next. Oh, wait a minute, I still got some more. Some of this yard we've already said. We maintain 140 acres inside the Cypresswood community. Of that, 80 acres is golf course playable areas. We have, Robert Dodd had a gentleman come out to look at the possibility of using a different mowing, a bush hog for in layman's term, that will potentially mow some of the areas that we can't get into and can kind of alleviate the pressure during the summer months when, with our, as you can see, our 6 people and certified golf course superintendent have a hard time getting to. So we're trying to see what that cost is going to be, and we'll report that at some point when we have that number. We are still struggling to find a golf course mechanic, and we have 2 less than we did last month, and taking all applications for any workers. We had 3 apply, hired 3, none showed. So that's kind of what we do. So we will continue to try to hire them, and we'll continue to hope they show. It's not really a laughing matter, but it is a joke or something, I guess. Any questions on that? Fantastic. All right, we're at the point of new business. Do we have any new business? All right, I guess I would entertain a motion to adjourn if someone had such a motion.
So moved.
So moved, we are adjourned. See you next month.